her father would kill him if he found out. She knew her family would disown her forever. But when you fall in love with someone from the other side of a war, logic doesn't matter anymore. This is the true story of two people who should have never met. Two people separated by a conflict that tore families apart and destroyed entire communities. A conflict where loving the enemy meant betraying everything you were supposed to stand for. Their names were Michael and Katerina. And this is how their love story became their tragedy. It was 1995 in Bosnia. The war had been going on for 3 years. 3 years of neighbors turning against neighbors. 3 years of friendships ending because of last names. 3 years of a beautiful country being ripped apart by hatred nobody fully understood anymore. Michael was 23 years old. He was a Croat. His family had lived in the same village for generations. He grew up playing football in streets that were now covered in rubble. He grew up swimming in a river where bodies now floated downstream. Everything he knew was gone. His older brother had been killed in the first year of the war. Shot by a sniper while trying to get water from the well. His father barely spoke anymore. He just sat in his chair by the window, staring out at nothing, like he was waiting for his dead son to come walking down the road. His mother cried every single night. Michael could hear her through the walls. Quiet sobs that never seemed to stop. And Michael was angry. So angry that some days he couldn't eat. So angry that he volunteered to guard the checkpoints on the edge of their territory. The checkpoint was the only place where both sides still had to see each other. It was on a dusty road that cut through what used to be farmland. Now it was just empty fields with burnt houses scattered across them. The checkpoint had sandbags stacked up on both sides. Barbed wire. A small wooden shack where the guards would sit when it rained. It was ugly and depressing and it smelled like diesel fuel and cigarette smoke. That's where he first saw her. Katerina was 21. She was a Serb. Her family came from the neighboring region, the one Michael's people now called enemy territory. She had long dark hair that she always kept tied back in a ponytail. She had eyes that looked tired, like she hadn't slept properly in months. Because she hadn't. She had dark circles under her eyes and her clothes hung loose on her frame like she'd lost weight. Like everyone had lost weight. Her younger sister had disappeared 6 months earlier. Anna. She was only 16. She'd gone to the market one morning and never came back. Nobody knew if she was dead or taken somewhere or just lost in the chaos. Katerina's mother had stopped eating after that. She just laid in bed most days, staring at the ceiling. Her father had become someone she didn't recognize anymore. Someone filled with rage and plans for revenge. He would sit at the kitchen table late at night with other men, drinking and talking in low voices about things Katerina didn't want to hear. The checkpoint was the only place where people from both sides still saw each other. It was where you crossed if you needed to get medicine. Or if you were trying to find family members. Or if you were one of the few people still stupid enough to believe this war would end and things would go back to normal. Michael saw her crossing every Thursday. Always Thursday. Always around 2 in the afternoon. She never spoke more than necessary. She just showed her papers to the guards and walked through. But Michael noticed her. He noticed everything about her. He noticed the way she held herself together even though her hands shook when she handed over her papers. He noticed the way she never looked anyone in the eye, like she was trying to become invisible. He noticed the small cross she wore around her neck that she kept tucked inside her shirt. He noticed that she always carried the same worn canvas bag. One Thursday in November, she was carrying too many bags. 3 of them. Medical supplies mostly. Bandages. Pills. Antibiotics. Things you couldn't get on her side anymore because the supply routes were cut off. Food too. Rice. Dried beans. A small bag of sugar. Luxuries now. One of the bags ripped as she walked through the checkpoint. The bottom just gave out. Pills scattered everywhere on the muddy ground. Little white tablets mixing with the dirt and rocks. Michael watched the other guards laugh. There were 3 of them on duty that day. Marco, who was in his 40s and had lost 2 sons. Luca, who was barely 19 and tried to act tough to hide how scared he was all the time. And Dmitri, who seemed to actually enjoy the war, who seemed to like having power over people. They weren't going to help her. They enjoyed seeing people from the other side struggle. That's what the war had done to people. It had made cruelty feel normal. It had made watching someone else suffer feel like a small victory. But Michael couldn't watch her pick up those pills alone while grown men stood there laughing. Something in him broke. Or maybe something in him hadn't broken yet, hadn't been destroyed by the war like it had destroyed everything else. He knelt down and started helping her. His hands worked quickly, gathering the pills, brushing off the dirt. She looked at him like he had just done something dangerous. Which he had. Marco stopped laughing and stared at him. Luca looked confused. Dimitri's face darkened with anger. "Thank you," Katerina whispered in their shared language. The language both sides spoke but now pretended made them different. Her voice was soft. Scared. "It's fine," Michael said quietly, not looking at the other guards. "Get home safe." He handed her the pills and she shoved them quickly into another bag. She didn't look back. She just walked away fast, her head down, disappearing down the road toward her side. "What the hell was that?" Dimitri said when she was gone. "What?" Michael stood up, brushing dirt off his hands. "Helping her. Helping one of them. She dropped her medicine. I helped her pick it up. That's it. You getting soft?" Dimitri stepped closer. "You forget what they did to your brother?" Michael's jaw tightened. "I don't forget anything." "Then act like it." They stared at each other. Michael was taller but Dimitri was meaner. Dimitri was the kind of person who had been waiting his whole life for a war so he could finally hurt people and call it patriotism. Marco stepped between them. "Leave it. It was just some pills. Doesn't matter." But it did matter. Michael knew it mattered. Because he'd crossed a line. A small line but a line. And everyone had seen it. That should have been the end of it. That should have been the only time they ever spoke. But the next Thursday, Katerina came through the checkpoint again. And this time she had something with her. Something wrapped in cloth. She walked up to Michael specifically, not the other guards. She set it down on the sandbags near him and walked away without saying a word. Michael waited until she was gone. Then he unwrapped it. Bread. Homemade bread. Still slightly warm. And a small note tucked inside the cloth that said, "Thank you again," in careful handwriting. Michael knew he should throw it away. Accepting gifts from the other side could get you accused of being a traitor. Could get you shot by your own people. But he looked at that bread and he couldn't throw it away. He wrapped it back up and took it home that night. He ate it alone in his room. And it was the best bread he'd eaten since before the war started. It tasted like his grandmother used to make. She died 2 years ago before the war, and Michael had thought he'd never taste bread like that again. It tasted like normal life. Like Thursday afternoons when the biggest problem was homework. Like a world that didn't exist anymore. The next Thursday, Michael waited for her. He'd been thinking about that bread all week. About the fact that someone from the other side, someone whose father probably wanted Michael dead, had taken the time to bake bread and bring it to him. It didn't make sense. Nothing made sense anymore. When Katerina came through the checkpoint, Michael had something for her too. Coffee. Real coffee. Not the fake stuff everyone was drinking now that was made from burnt grain and chicory and tasted like dirty water. It was from his family's storage. From the supplies they'd been keeping in the cellar. His mother had been saving it for something special. Michael took it anyway. He handed it to Katerina when she showed her papers. She looked at the small paper bag, then at him. Her eyes got wet with tears. "I can't remember the last time I had real coffee," she said quietly, her voice breaking a little. "I can't remember the last time I had real bread," Michael replied. She smiled. Just a small smile, but it was the first time he'd seen her smile. It changed her whole face. Made her look younger. Made her look like what she was. Just a girl who'd had her life stolen by a war she didn't start. "Thank you," she said. "Be safe," he said. She left. But the next Thursday, she came back. And they talked again. Just for a minute. Just small talk. About how cold it was getting. About whether the war would be over by Christmas. People had been saying that for 3 years now. That it would be over by Christmas. It never was. The Thursday after that, they talked a bit longer. About stupid things. About what songs they missed hearing on the radio. About movies they used to watch. About normal things. Human things. Things that had nothing to do with the war. Every Thursday became something Michael looked forward to. In a life filled with anger and loss and the constant fear of dying, those few minutes talking to Katerina were the only time he felt like himself again. Like he was still Michael, not just another angry young man with a gun and a dead brother. He learned things about her. Small things. She had wanted to be a teacher before the war. She'd been studying at the university in Sarajevo. She'd been in her second year when everything fell apart. She loved poetry. She had a dog named Max that had run away when the bombing started and never came back. She missed her sister so much it physically hurt. She would wake up some mornings and forget for just a second that Anna was gone, and then she'd remember and it was like losing her all over again. She learned things about him too. That he'd dreamed of leaving the village and studying engineering in Zagreb. That he'd wanted to build bridges, which seemed funny now because all anyone did was blow bridges up. That he played guitar before the war but his guitar got smashed during a shelling and he never got a new one. That he couldn't remember the last time he'd laughed, really laughed. The kind of laughing that makes your stomach hurt. They talked about the lives they were supposed to have. The lives the war had stolen from them. The futures that didn't exist anymore. "Do you hate us?" Katerina asked him one day. It was January now. Snow was falling, big fat flakes that covered everything in white and made the checkpoint look almost peaceful. Almost beautiful. The kind of snow that would have been magic when they were kids. Now it was just cold. Michael thought about the question. Really thought about it. "I hate what happened to my brother," he said finally. "I hate what this war did to my parents. I hate that my mother cries every night. I hate that my father is like a ghost. I hate all of that. But when I look at you, I don't see an enemy. I just see someone as tired as I am." Katerina started crying. Not loud crying. Just tears running down her face in the cold, leaving tracks on her cheeks. "My father would kill me if he knew I was talking to you like this. He says people like you are animals. He says you're all monsters who want to destroy us." "My father says the same thing about your people," Michael said quietly. They stood there in silence. Two people from opposite sides realizing they'd been told the same lies about each other. Realizing that the people they were supposed to hate were just people. Just scared, tired, sad people trying to survive. That was the day everything changed. That was the day they stopped being strangers at a checkpoint and became something dangerous. Something forbidden. It was Katerina's idea to meet somewhere else. Somewhere away from the checkpoint where the other guards couldn't see them. Somewhere they could actually talk without being watched. There was an abandoned house halfway between their territories. It was in the no man's land, the space between the front lines where nobody went anymore. The house had belonged to a mixed family, a Croat father and a Serb mother. They'd left when the war started, fled to Germany or Austria or somewhere safe. The house had been shelled. The roof was half gone and the walls were covered in bullet holes. Windows were all broken. Inside, furniture was overturned and covered in plaster dust and broken glass. But it became their place. Michael would tell his family he was going on patrol. Katerina would tell her she was still searching for her sister, following rumors and leads that never went anywhere. And they would meet in that destroyed house and pretend the war didn't exist for an hour or two. It was dangerous. If anyone from either side found them, they'd both be killed. Meeting with the enemy. Collaborating. Treason. Betrayal. All the words that got people shot. But they kept doing it anyway. Because those hours in the abandoned house were the only time either of them felt alive anymore. They talked about everything. About their childhoods. About growing up in villages that were only a few kilometers apart but might as well have been different planets now. About teachers they'd had. About friends they'd lost. About family members who died or disappeared or changed into people they didn't recognize. They talked about their fears. Michael told her he was afraid he was becoming like Dmitri. That the anger inside him was growing and one day it would take over completely and he'd become one of the people who enjoyed hurting others. Katerina told him she was afraid her sister was dead and they'd never find her body, never be able to bury her properly, never have closure. They talked about what they would do if the war ever ended. About whether they could ever go back to normal life. About whether normal life even existed anymore or if this was just how things were going to be forever. And they talked about running away together. Just leaving everything behind and starting over somewhere nobody knew their names or what side they came from. "We could go to Germany," Katerina said one day. They were sitting on the floor of the abandoned house, leaning against a wall that was pockmarked with shrapnel. February sunlight was coming through the broken roof, making patterns on the dusty floor. "I have a cousin there. Mia. She left before the war started. She's in Munich. She has a restaurant. Would she help us?" Michael asked. "I don't know. Maybe. If we could even get there. Katerina pulled her knees up to her chest. We'd need papers. Money. A way across the border. We could save money, Michael said, even though he knew it was hopeless. Neither of them had any money. His family was barely surviving. Her family was the same. How long would that take? Years. Katerina shook her head. The war could be over by then. Or we could be dead. Then we'd figure something else out. We'd find a way. It was an impossible dream. The borders were closed. They had no money. They had no papers that would let them leave. The route to Germany would take them through multiple checkpoints, multiple territories, multiple groups of armed men who would shoot them on sight. But they held on to that dream because it was the only future they could imagine where they got to be together. By March, something had shifted between them. The conversations had gotten deeper, more personal. They'd started sitting closer together. Their hands would brush against each other and neither of them would move away. One afternoon, Michael reached out and tucked a piece of hair behind Katerina's ear. She didn't pull back. She just looked at him. And then he kissed her. It was gentle, careful, like they were both afraid the other person would disappear if they moved too fast. When they pulled apart, Katerina was crying. "We shouldn't do this," she whispered. "I know," Michael said. "This is crazy. This is going to get us both killed. I know. I should stop coming here. We should stop seeing each other. I know." But neither of them stopped. They kept meeting, kept talking, kept falling deeper into something that had no future. They weren't just meeting to talk anymore. They had fallen in love. Real love. The kind that makes you forget about everything else. The kind that makes you stupid and brave at the same time. The kind that makes you think maybe, just maybe, love is stronger than war. Michael knew it was wrong. Every time he kissed her, he thought about his dead brother. He thought about his mother crying. He thought about his father's empty stare. He thought about everything his people had lost. And he felt like a traitor. Like he was betraying his brother's memory. Betraying his family. Betraying his entire community. But then he would look at Katerina and remember that she had lost just as much. Her sister was gone. Her mother was broken. Her father had become a stranger. The war had destroyed her life too. They were the same. They were both victims of something bigger than them. Something neither of them had chosen. Something neither of them understood. "I love you," he told her in April. They were lying on the floor of the abandoned house, on an old blanket Katerina had brought. Rain was leaking through the broken roof, making small puddles around them. They could hear distant shelling, a reminder that the war was still there, still happening, still waiting for them outside their little bubble. "I love you too," Katerina said. Her voice was thick with emotion. "And I hate that I do. I hate that loving you feels like betraying my family. I hate that being happy with you means forgetting about Anna, even for a few hours. I hate all of it." "I know," Michael said. "I feel the same way. Every single day." They held each other and cried. Because they both knew this couldn't end well. People like them didn't get happy endings. Not in a war. Not when loving someone meant becoming the enemy. Michael had started writing her letters. Small notes he would hide near the checkpoint, in a spot they'd agreed on. Stupid things that people in love write. "I miss you. Thinking of you. Can't wait to see you again." The kind of things that felt important when you wrote them but seemed ridiculous when you read them back. Katerina kept every single one. She had them hidden in a box under her bed, wrapped in cloth. She would read them late at night when she couldn't sleep, when the fear and guilt got too heavy. That box of letters was what destroyed everything. It was May when everything fell apart. Someone had seen them together. One of the men from Michael's unit. His name was Ivan. He'd been walking through the woods, coming back from a patrol, and he'd seen them at the abandoned house. Seen them kissing. Seen them holding each other. Seen everything. Ivan told everyone. The news spread through Michael's village like fire. People were angry. Disgusted. Betrayed. The son of their neighbor, the boy they'd watched grow up, the brother of a martyr. He was sleeping with the enemy. With a Serb. With someone whose people had killed his brother. Michael's father found out first. He didn't yell. He didn't hit him. He just looked at Michael with complete disgust, with a coldness that was worse than any anger. "Your brother died fighting them," he said. His voice was quiet. Deadly. He died protecting this village. Protecting our people. And you're sleeping with their daughter. With the enemy. She's not the enemy, Michael tried to explain. His words tumbled out desperate and fast. She's not them. She's just a person. She didn't kill anyone. She didn't do anything wrong. She is the enemy, his father interrupted. Her people killed your brother. Her people are trying to destroy us. And you are no longer my son. Papa, please. Get out of my sight. Michael's mother found him later. She was crying, begging him to end it. She grabbed his hands and held them tight. They'll kill you, she said through her tears. If her people find out, they'll kill you. Michael, please. I can't lose another son. I can't. It will kill me. Please just end it. Please. Mama. Promise me. Promise me you'll stop seeing her. Michael couldn't promise. He tried to pull away but she held on, her fingers digging into his arms. Mama, I love her. Love. His mother's voice broke completely. You think love matters? You think love is more important than staying alive? Than protecting your family? She's lost as much as we have. Her sister is gone. Her family is destroyed. She's not the enemy, she's just... I don't care. His mother was screaming now, something she never did. I don't care about her family. I care about you. I care about keeping you alive. Is that so wrong? Is it so wrong that I don't want to bury another son? Michael left the house. He couldn't stay there. Couldn't face his mother's tears or his father's disgust. He walked through the village and people stared at him. Some looked angry. Some looked disappointed. Some just looked away, like he was already dead. He tried to stay away from Katerina. He really tried. He told himself it was too dangerous now. That they had to stop. That he couldn't risk her life or his life anymore. That his mother was right. He lasted 3 days. On the 4th day, he went to the abandoned house. He had to see her. Had to tell her they needed to stop. Had to say goodbye properly. Had to look at her one more time before he ended it forever. But when he got there, Katerina was already waiting. And she was terrified. Her eyes were red from crying. Her hands were shaking. She ran to him the moment she saw him. They know, she said. My father knows. He found the letters. Michael felt his stomach drop. The letters. The stupid letters he'd written. He'd been so careful about their meetings but careless about the letters. What did he say? He didn't say anything to me. He didn't yell. He just looked at me like... Her voice broke. Like I killed Anna myself. Like I'm the reason everything bad has happened. He told me to stay in my room and he locked the door. But I heard him. I heard him talking to his men. What were they saying? He's planning something. Michael, I think he's going to kill you. He kept saying he would make an example. That he would show everyone what happens to traitors. Michael felt cold. He'd known this was a possibility. Known it from the first time they kissed. But hearing it out loud made it real. Made it immediate. Then we run, he said. The decision was instant. Automatic. There was no other option. Tonight. We leave tonight. We find a way across the border. We go to Germany. To your cousin. And go where, Michael? Katerina was crying hard now. We have nothing. No money. No papers. No way to get across the border. They check everyone. They'll catch us. They'll kill us both. I don't care, Michael said. He grabbed her shoulders, made her look at him. I'd rather die trying to be with you than live without you. We leave tonight. Pack light. Just what you can carry. Meet me at the old bus station at midnight. We'll go west toward the coast. From there we can find a boat. We can make it to Italy. It's possible. It's not possible, Katerina said, but she was nodding anyway. Because what else could they do? My father will come after us. Then we'll run fast. Michael kissed her. Hard. Like it might be the last time. Midnight. The bus station. Don't be late. Michael went home to pack. His house was dark. His parents were asleep, or pretending to be. He moved quietly through his room, grabbing clothes, grabbing food, grabbing anything small and valuable he could sell. He took some money his mother had hidden in a tin in the kitchen. He felt guilty about it, but he needed it more than they did. He took a photo of his brother. He wanted to remember. Wanted to carry part of his family with him, even if they disowned him. He was almost out the door when his father appeared in the hallway. Just a shadow at first. Then he stepped into the light from the street lamp outside. "Where are you going?" his father asked. His voice was flat. "Empty." "Away," Michael said. "To be with her." It wasn't a question. Michael didn't answer. He didn't need to. They both knew. "If you leave now, you can never come back," his father said. "You understand that? You'll be marked as a deserter. As a traitor. Your name will be dirt. They will hunt you. And if they find you, they will kill you. Both of you." "I know," Michael said. His father stared at him for a long moment. Michael couldn't read his expression in the dim light. Then his father did something unexpected. He reached into his pocket and pulled out more money. A lot more. Money the family needed. Money they'd been saving for emergencies. He handed it to Michael. "Your mother would never forgive me if I let you leave with nothing," his father said quietly. There might have been tears in his eyes, but Michael couldn't tell in the dark. "Go. Before I change my mind. Before I stop you. Just go." Michael took the money. He wanted to hug his father. Wanted to say thank you. Wanted to say goodbye properly. Wanted to tell him he understood. That he knew this was hard. That he was sorry for everything. But there wasn't time. There was never enough time for the things that mattered. He just nodded and left. He ran through the dark streets toward the meeting point. The old bus station on the edge of town. It hadn't been used in years. Since before the war. The building was abandoned. Windows broken. Covered in graffiti. That's where they'd agreed to meet. From there, they would walk through the night toward the border. It was insane. It was impossible. But it was all they had. Michael's heart was pounding as he got closer. He was carrying his bag. He had the money. He had everything they needed. All that was left was Katerina. They would leave together. They would make it somehow. They had to. But when he got to the bus station, Katerina wasn't alone. Her father had followed her. And he'd brought men with him. 4 men with guns. They had Katerina surrounded. She was standing in the middle of them, her bag at her feet, tears streaming down her face. Michael froze. Every instinct screamed at him to run. To turn around and disappear into the dark. To save himself while he still could. Nobody had seen him yet. He could just leave. Go west on his own. Survive. But Katerina was there. And she was screaming his name. And he couldn't leave her. Could never leave her. He walked toward them. Walked right into it. His hands up. His bag on his shoulder. Unarmed. "So this is him," Katerina's father said. He was a big man. Graying hair. Scarred hands. Face hard from years of work and war. "This is the boy you chose over your family. Over your people. Over your sister's memory. Please," Katerina begged. She tried to move toward Michael, but one of the men grabbed her arm, held her back. "Please, father. I love him." Her father hit her. Not hard. Just a slap. But enough to make her stop talking. Enough to show Michael exactly what he thought of their love. Enough to make Michael's blood boil, make him want to fight. But he knew fighting would just get them both killed faster. "You took my daughter from me," her father said to Michael. His voice was cold. Controlled. Somehow that was worse than if he'd been yelling. "You turned her into a traitor. You made her forget her sister. Forget her duty. Forget her people." "I didn't take her from anyone," Michael said, trying to keep his voice steady. "I love her. That's all. I just love her. We didn't hurt anyone. We didn't do anything except try to find some happiness in this hell." "Love." Her father spat the word like it was poison. "You don't get to love her. You don't get to love anyone from my family. Your people killed my mother in the first month of the war. Your people burned my village. I watched my neighbors die. I pulled bodies out of burning houses. And you think you get to love my daughter?" "I didn't kill your mother," Michael said. "I didn't burn your village. I was just trying to survive. Same as you. Same as everyone." "Not the same," her father said. The men around him raised their guns. 4 rifles pointed at Michael's chest. Not even close to the same. Katerina threw herself in front of Michael. Literally threw her body between him and the guns. "No! If you kill him, you have to kill me too." "Get out of the way," her father ordered. "No! Katerina, move!" "No!" She was screaming now. "I won't let you do this. He's good. He's kind. He didn't do anything except love me. Is that so wrong? Is love so wrong?" "Love is a luxury," her father said. "Love is what you get to feel when there's no war. When your family isn't being slaughtered. You don't get to have it now. Neither of you do. Then what's the point?" Katerina's voice cracked. "What's the point of surviving if we can't even love each other? What are we fighting for if not for the chance to be human again?" They stood there. Father and daughter. Both crying. Both destroyed by a war neither of them had started. Both victims of something bigger than them. For a moment, Michael thought it might work. For a moment, he saw something break in her father's face. Some part of him that remembered what it was like to be human. To feel something other than hate. To remember that his daughter was still his daughter, still the little girl he'd taught to ride a bike, still the baby he'd held when she was born. Michael saw him hesitate. Saw his hand move, like he might lower his gun. Like he might tell his men to stand down. Like maybe, just maybe, love could be stronger than hate. But then one of the men spoke up. "If you won't do it, I will. We can't let this stand. We can't let them think we're weak." And he shot Michael. The sound was deafening in the quiet night. Michael felt the impact before he heard the shot. Like being punched in the chest by a hammer. He fell backward. Hit the ground hard. Couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Katerina screamed. A sound Michael would never forget. Not in the seconds he had left. Pure agony. She dropped to the ground beside him. Her hands were on him, pressing against the wound, trying to stop the bleeding. But there was so much blood. Too much blood. "Stay with me," Katerina was crying. Sobbing. "Please stay with me. Please. Don't leave me. Michael, please." Michael tried to speak but couldn't. His mouth wouldn't work. His lungs wouldn't work. Everything was getting dark and cold and distant. He tried to lift his hand to touch her face one more time but his arm was too heavy. "I love you," Katerina was saying. Over and over. "I love you. I love you. I love you." The last thing Michael saw was her face. The last thing he felt was her hand holding his. And then nothing. They buried Michael in his village 2 days later. His mother collapsed at the graveside and had to be carried home. She never recovered. She stopped eating. Stopped sleeping. Just faded away over the next few months until she died too. People said it was grief. Said she died of a broken heart. Said she couldn't live in a world where both her sons were gone. His father never spoke about Michael again. It was like Michael had never existed. Like he'd never had a second son at all. He lived another 10 years, silent and alone, and when he died, people said he'd been waiting to die since the day he lost his family. Katerina was sent away the day after Michael was killed. Her father couldn't stand to look at her anymore. Couldn't stand to see what she'd become. What loving the enemy had turned her into. She went to live with relatives in Serbia. In a small town where nobody knew her story. Where nobody knew about Michael. She never came back. Not to her village. Not to Bosnia. Not even after the war ended. The war ended in December 1995. 7 months after Michael died. The Dayton Agreement was signed and everyone said they were glad it was over. Everyone said it was time to move on. Everyone said things would get better now. Everyone said the killing was done. But some things don't get better. Some losses you carry forever. Some holes never get filled. Katerina never married. Never fell in love again. How could she? She'd already given her heart to someone. And he was buried in a village she could never visit. In a graveyard she could never stand beside. On the other side of a border that shouldn't exist but still does. On the other side of a war that ended but never really ended. She got a job teaching. Elementary school. Like she'd always wanted. She was good at it. Patient with the children. Kind. But her smile never quite reached her eyes. The other teachers noticed. The students noticed. Everyone noticed that something in her was broken and had never healed. She still thinks about him every day. Every single day for 30 years now. She's in her 50s and she still thinks about a boy she loved when she was 21. She thinks about the abandoned house where they used to meet. The place where they pretended the war didn't exist. The place where they got to just be two people in love, even if only for a few hours each week. She wonders about the life they could have had. The life they dreamed about. Germany. Her cousin's restaurant in Munich. Starting over. Having kids maybe. Growing old together. Normal things. The things people are supposed to get to.